Beyond 3D.
Saturday evening in and around the peninsula. Welcome to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint here, coming to you live from Studio 2 RPP 98.7 FM. Clint, how goes it this week?
Ask me how my back is.
How's your back?
Pretty sore, because you weren't here last weekend, so I had to carry you.
Ooh, funny as a crutch. Anyway, guys, thank you, by the way, for doing that.
No, it was
that
cool.
That was very nice of you. I appreciate that.
I can have a little dig.
Yes, you can have a dig here and there once in a while, but it's been busy, and Clint's been busy as well. But guys, welcome to this week's edition of the show. Hopefully everyone is doing well out there and enjoying all the fun and thrills coming to us from the country known as the United States of America and Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Trump and CNN.
Tell you what. There's so many jokes you could possibly make about this right now.
Wow, I don't even know where to start.
Goodness.
I really don't.
Oh, we can't use the one silence is golden, so we might as well come up with something else.
Well, hang on. No, we can use the term because some people would know what it is and some people wouldn't know what it is. So let me just say, a natural function of the human body is to urinate.
Yes, it is.
True?
Pee, yes.
Thank you.
We all can pee, yes.
What are they calling it? Not Watergate. What are they calling it? Weegate or something like that. I heard the other day.
Peegate.
I heard something like that the other day. But the term golden shower involves the act of urinating. Yep. So we'll just park that there. And allegedly, this incident involved Mr. Trump and two alleged prostitutes.
Ooh.
Performing golden showers.
Oh, Lord.
So when CNN... Now, Matt, where does the rabbit hole go with this information as
I'll
backwards?
tell you what. After a while, you got to just say, oh, come on, enough is enough.
Yeah, but hang on. I heard...
Yes, what did you hear? No,
I heard that originally it came from CIA, allegedly. I'll keep using the word allegedly. From CIA through Russia.
Well, I heard that there was an MI6 involvement in this as well, and they've known this information for a lot of months, actually.
Now, how long until he's sworn in?
Well, let's see, it's Saturday, and that means about, Saturday, 7 days?
7 days, okay.
About, yeah.
Now...
Well, the 20th of January.
Now, I very openly last year advocated and said that there was no way he was going to get in. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'd said it for years. Now, that came from based on the knowledge that Hillary Clinton was I don't even want to use the term Illuminati plant, but it was in their best interest to have her sitting at the big table. Now, this whole destabilisation of Trump actually getting through, when you think about it, there's another way you can look at it. I haven't really heard anybody say this. I sort of came up with this myself the other day. It's pretty right field or left field? You tell me.
I'll see. Let's hear it.
If Hillary got in,
right?
Okay, then she would serve the puppet masters.
Yes.
Right? If Russia want to destabilize America, if they wanted to, what better way to do it than to support a buffoon, build his ego, drop him in the White House, and then release damaging information or assist in the release of damaging information to get him out of the White House and therefore have a country that has no president.
Well, they'd have a president.
Yes, but when you're talking about
MI6,
I nearly said 5. That was old school. When you're talking about MI6, and I've openly just said to you before that I've looked into it a little bit more and found there's lots of information coming out of the CIA and the FBI about this as well. When global intelligence communities are all being dropped into this scenario, don't tell me that they're all acting as individual organisations.
information like that would be shared around, and what they would use it for is they would say, this is what we have, what do you guys have? And this is what we have, what do you guys have? And the thing about it is...
And that's what allies do.
Yeah, but the thing with these so-called 15 to 17, depending on the week, intelligence agencies, in my opinion at least, is this. You have a 35-page document that was released about this situation. Out of that, they came up with a 2-page synopsis, which was given to President Obama, Vice President Biden, Donald Trump, and a few other well-chosen people in the Senate and the Congress.
I'm just laughing at the thought of Trump sitting there and that document sliding across his table, and it's all about him.
Well, here's the thing, and
he would have flipped his wig.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Now, all of a sudden, they're all up in arms over the fact that this so-called fake information got out. Now they know how Hillary Clinton felt when all of the WikiLeaks information was coming out about Podesta, the DNC, and all of a sudden, it's a totally different scenario. A lot of people in the Republican Party have been found to be quite hypocritical about this now all of a sudden, which is very interesting.
The cleanest president, you'd have to say, especially looking at the way he went out this week, was Obama.
Yep.
Now, most of them have dirt. Most of them have skeletons.
Oh, look, they're going to say he's
you don't get that high without slitting a few
yeah,
throats.
But the fact of the matter is, what they've done, and this is all over the United States, they've had dirt about Obama allegedly as well, with pedophile rings and all this kind of stuff. They're always going to do that kind of stuff.
Pump your brakes. They did that with Bill Cosby.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you try to buy NBC. What are you going to do? They have to get rid of you. Now, I digress. Back to Mr. Trump.
Something different?
Yeah, back to Mr. Trump. When it came to everything that happened this week with Donald Trump, it was very interesting because Biden and Obama were briefed on everything that happened.
They would have been sitting there killing themselves laughing.
I would have been in absolute hysterics.
I can see Obama on the ground, on his hands and knees, slapping the floor with tears coming down his eyes. And poor Joe on the couch clutching his chest going, stop it, you're killing me.
Is it? It's funny. As you read that kind of stuff, you go, oh my goodness. But it was interesting. They interviewed Biden, and they basically said, well, what did you guys got this information. What did you think? And he said, well, the president, Obama, looked at it all, read it all, and said, and? What does this have to do with anything?
Well, he wouldn't be expecting anything less.
Basically. What else is new?
Maybe and is like, and do I care anymore?
That as well. Yeah. I mean, you really can't care. I mean, it's not your life, and you just look and you would laugh. And you would, and I would, and what would make me laugh even more is the fact that I would think about all the people that voted for this guy in, expecting all of this change and everything that's supposed to happen. We'll see what happens, but I think it was very, very funny. And I like the fact that payback is a proverbial you-know-what. And right now, Donald Trump is finally getting a little bit of payback and getting to experience what one named Hillary Clinton got to experience for a whole lot of weeks during this campaign.
It's called karma.
Yeah, that too. And karma instantly can bite you in the bum. In my opinion, it's unsubstantiated.
True.
And you have to remember that. But
where there's smoke, there's fire.
And when it comes to the spy, for lack of a better term, community, the 35-page summary of the thing, what they came up with, is one thing. The 2-page synopsis of those 35 pages that they would give to the president and the vice president and everything like that have been researched and more than likely substantiated. Therefore, where there's smoke, there is definitely fire.
I've got the clip here of him attacking the CNN reporter.
Oh, that was funny.
Now that it was funny, but keep in mind everything we've just spoken about. Listen to his voice. Yes, he's angry, but he's also got a lot to lose right now, hasn't he?
Well, yes and no. The fact of the matter is he'll get inaugurated. That will happen. I really don't think, unless one of these asteroids, like the one this past week that just missed us by about 100,000 miles and NASA decided not to tell us about it.
Or a lone gunman, CIA.
Unless something like that happens, quite frankly, he'll get in, and what they will then do is what a lot of people would do in that instance. change the heads of all of the different departments and agencies, and get rid of any kind of damaging information.
Let me just play this. Hit it.
Beyond 333 D.
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace. That information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public. As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer the consequences. They already are. And as far as CNN going out of their way to build it up, and by the way, we just found out I was coming down. Michael Cohn. Michael Cohn is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer in my firm. It was just reported that it wasn't this Michael Cohn they were talking about. So all night long, it's Michael Cohn. I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute. He didn't leave the country. He wasn't out of the country. They had Michael Cohn of the Trump Organization was in Prague. It turned out to be a different Michael Cohn. It's a disgrace what took place. It's a disgrace. And I think they ought to apologize to start with Michael Cohn.
Sir, since you're attacking us, can you give us a question?
Go ahead.
No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization.
Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir,
Quiet.
Quiet. Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Can you state categorically,
she's asking a question. Don't be rude.
Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not appropriate.
Beyond 333 D.
I'll tell you what. I have, quite frankly, it's hilarious
You're fake.
insofar as...
you're fake.
You have never heard a president-elect or a president speak the way Donald Trump has spoken in the last year for all intents and purposes.
Visceral and guttural.
Yeah, it's pathetic in my opinion. You're supposed to be a little bit more aloof when it comes to these kinds of things, and he's not. He gets down and dirty in the gutter with people, and he really needs to check himself and allow policy and procedure in a sense.
Not the Don.
But he won't.
Not the Don.
But the fact of the matter is, being that he won't, it's going to basically lead to his downfall if he is not very careful. It's not going to be pretty. And so, in my opinion, based upon look, the man's been married how many times? Look at the type of women he goes for.
Pause.
Look at the thing he's
Pause.
Pause. I'm pausing.
Do you know in a game of roulette where you spin the roulette table and the ball bounces across?
Yep.
Every spin is totally separate and has nothing to do with the other spin.
Correct.
Okay. All these alleged allegations that you're talking about, Mr. Trump, each one has nothing to do with the other. Do I sound convincing?
Look.
No, I don't, do I? I just want to play devil's advocate for a change in bat. No, I can't do it.
He's honestly, come on. Look at. It's all there for everybody to see if they want to look. Look at the people that he is married to now. Look at the type. You can see the type of women he likes. You can see the way he is. And look, come on. Yeah, he doesn't drink.
Grab her on the...
Yeah. So he's not into drinking because his brother was a binge drinker. So he looked at that and said he didn't want to go that route. So therefore, he doesn't have that release. So what other things are available to you? Who knows? Now, he's come out, and it's very interesting because he came out and he basically said in a blurb that he tells all of his people, when you travel overseas, you have to be extremely careful because if you're in a hotel room or anything like that, they can record you in a hotel room, they can record your phone conversations, they can follow you around, especially when you're high profile. So therefore, you have to be extremely careful. in my opinion, somebody says that because a lot of times they had a transgression and weren't necessarily extremely careful.
The Donald's got deep pockets, so I dare say he's had many transgressions that he's
I would think so.
made go away with a big bag of money.
I would think so, but the other aspect of this matter is not just P-gate, as you'd want to say. The other aspect of the matter is that there are people out there that believe that he is into the oligarchs for at least $500 million, if not more. And
that's why he's never smiling.
And that in and of itself can lead to being compromised. Now, what people are saying will happen with this is the fact that he'll get into office, and after a discrete amount of time, all Russian sanctions will have disappeared, and everything will be fine, and they will try to set up a new relationship, and things will go forward. Once you're in, there are certain things that you can consider to be in, how do you put it? We cannot reveal any of this information, national security implications.
Yes.
And they will be able to use that to their advantage.
Yes.
And so, therefore, any little transgressions that may have happened in the past disappear, are like buried.
George Soros style.
Redacted, if you ever want to get to them again. And, all of a sudden, everything going forward because of national security can be hidden. So it's basically, if you think about it, you can think of it two ways. Yes, he can go down the gurgler, so to speak, or within about a week to 10 days, he's free and clear to navigate any way he so desires.
We haven't even started yet.
Nope. And it is going to be a fun 4 years out there for everybody in the Northern Hemisphere, because it's not just the United States. It's what's going on in China. It's what's going on in Europe with all of the immigration of people from the Muslim countries. It's what's going on in South America with the fact that they want to break up a few areas down there as well with BRICS and everything like that, the BRICS union that's going on. There's a whole lot of things going on worldwide. We will see what happens.
Lots of destabilisation.
A lot of destabilization, but you really have to be careful about two of them. Russia definitely, but also China is really going crazy right now.
But Matt, you got to break eggs to make an omelette.
Well, we'll break a few.
If you want change,
this is the way to get it. It's the way to get it indeed.
Beyond 3 D.
Welcome back this week, everyone, to another edition of Beyond 3D. I'm glad to see you back, Matt.
Yeah, fun.
What else on your radar?
Oh, look, I've been, that's been the main thing, has been the entire political system in the United States this week. It's been very interesting. But as I said a little earlier, I thought it was very interesting the fact that a lovely little asteroid about the size of a 10-story building came within 100,000 miles or thereabouts of Earth, and nobody really knew anything about it until after it had passed us by, including NASA allegedly, I should say.
Yeah, thanks, NASA.
Yeah.
You had one job to do.
Well, no, honestly, if you think about it, if the thing had hit, you'd probably say, well, don't let us know. Let's just let the thing happen and nobody has to worry about it.
Would you want to know?
My immediate answer is not no. I probably would.
Yeah.
It's not like you can go anywhere,
No.
but what the heck?
But, like...
You could prepare.
For what, Matt?
You can just, until the thing hits and you're ready to go and transit to the next level.
If you could see it in the sky and you somehow knew that there was like an hour to go, for that hour you would feel free. You'd just feel so free.
You can go into the bank and take some money and just sit there and go, ha-ha, because nobody would be around to bug you. There's a lot of things you could do, but we got to see that back in 1997, in a sense, up north, because I was in San Francisco, and every time I looked out my living room window, I could see Hale-Bopp hanging in the sky. As big and as bright as you could possibly imagine. I probably still have some pictures that I took of it when I was way back when. I could look in the garage and see where I can find them. But absolutely fascinating to see something like that, knowing that a few people felt that the little spaceship trailing behind it was going to come and take some people away, Calgon, take me away, and they were going to be able to go and transit to an entirely new dimension or universe. It was interesting to see something like that just hanging out in the sky that big. It was amazing, actually. Loved it. And in the same year, that was the year of the Phoenix Lights.
Oh.
As well.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
The Phoenix Lights is a series of lights that were seen over the city of downtown Phoenix back in 1997. I'm trying to remember the month. It's either March or April, I believe. And what it was, everyone reported seeing these lights. It was on the evening news, but they just tried to say it was flares. The governor came out and said it was basically a joke. Everybody thought it was a UFO or something like that. The governor's last name was Symington, and he's former military, former Air Force. And he had a press conference and had his chief of staff come out in a gray alien outfit and made fun of this whole situation that happened over Phoenix.
Yep.
It turns out a few years later that he admitted that the whole thing, he was basically put up to do that to calm the situation down, but he actually saw the ship.
Yes, he did.
So therefore, it was very interesting. But it's usually that way. They don't want to panic the public. They don't believe the public would be able to take the fact that we're not alone in at least this part of the galaxy. So it was interesting. That year, 1997, was a fantastic year as far as things coming in towards this planet from outer realms. It was really interesting. Yeah, so I've been thinking about that. I'm thinking about the fact that as we now speak, we just went through the full moon a few days ago, and now we have Venus at its brightest point in the night sky every night. So when the moon rises in the east, you also get to see Venus. So all the kids should get out there and take their telescopes out.
Goddess of the mountaintop.
And look and see what's going on with Venus and all of those goodies. It is also, being that we are in the month of January 2017, I'm trying to remember the term.
I actually wrote 2016 today.
Did you?
Yeah,
You're still writing that?
Yeah, I'm still writing that.
The first full moon of the year, which just went by, is the wolf moon.
That was Wednesday night. That was a cracker. No, hang on. Thursday night.
We were on the beach. We were on South Beach. This would have been...
What's this wee sucker?
You. Rosie and myself.
Okay.
Looking up, and the moon was just rising and the sun was setting. It was
Wednesday
night.
Okay.
I believe. Yes, Wednesday night. But it's called the wolf moon. So Venus is the brightest in the sky. You have the wolf moon that just passed us by. We've had that huge honking 10-story asteroid that came by the Earth and almost took us out. And according to certain people in Christendom...
Gesundheit.
Thank you. They believe this week signifies, based upon the Book of Luke and probably a few other books.
Don't look at me when you tell me this.
It signifies the end of the world.
Which, again, is like the fable of the phoenix. From death comes life.
Yeah, well.
So
let's see if next week, if the show is on, it obviously didn't happen and they were wrong again.
Oh, no, I'll be here.
I'll probably be here as well.
You've just got to turn up.
Oh, I'll be here. Weisenheimer. I'll be here. I will turn up. So that's basically what's been going on this week as far as the little nuances that are going on out there. But quite frankly, it had been dominated by all the fun things that are coming out. And the beauty of this is I believe we are going to have some even more wild and woolly things happening in the next week.
Oh, yeah.
Leading up to this beautiful inauguration ceremony that will install the Dawn.
Who did he get to play at his inauguration?
Marie Osmond.
Are you joking?
No.
Okay.
Paul Anka.
Okay.
A few marching bands.
Wow, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
What was the one that was married to the chick that was on Baywatch?
Don't say Tommy Lee.
No. The other one that she went out with.
I didn't know there was another one.
Oh, I can't remember the name. What was her name? The buxom blonde.
Pamela Anderson?
Yeah, her.
Yeah, she was married to Tommy Lee.
Yeah, but then after that she went out with another guy that was in...
Hang on. Kid Rock?
That's it.
Kid Rock.
It. So he might show up. Maybe some of the old gang from Hee Haw.
Hang on. What?
What's going to be there?
Has Kid Rock ever done? Didn't he do one song and it was a cover?
Yes.
He's like some... And I'm not cast...
Didn't he cover Sweet Home Alabama in some way or something like that? I'm going to call
a spade here. I'm not passing judgment on the man. Yeah. But when you market yourself to look like a redneck hillbilly from the swamp...
Yeah. Oh, well.
Is this the best the Don can do? Really? With all of his cash?
A lot of people want to distance themselves...
I'm not surprised.
...from Mr. Trump. And I think it's probably a very good idea. Let's see what happens. I personally believe that he's going to find this job a lot harder than he can possibly imagine. And it'll be a shame because, and I said this to a friend of mine this week, I said what I want to do is I want to start documenting all of the people who are in his camp. because if it all goes pear-shaped, I want to be able to play back for them and show them the articles they wrote when he was going to be the next thing the greatest thing since sliced bread, and he was going to turn that country around. And I just don't believe it can be. The one thing I remember about Washington D.C. when I was there, working for a 3-letter agency a long time ago, was the fact that it is too big for one person to run or one person to manipulate in any way. It is just gargantuan, and if you think you can get in there even with a cabinet and a few people and run it, you can't. You need a lot of people to keep that sucker going.
I'm still here.
You are.
Your country.
Yes.
Your former home. Your former home needs to be absolutely broken before it will get better.
Well, this was the reason when Trump got in, I said, oh, maybe now it'll get to the point where people will finally see what the...
And a lot of people will die in the process.
Ultimately, something like that has got to happen. It's got to break the mold. It's got to break the cycle.
Yep.
And
Yep.
If it doesn't, it's never going to... Nothing will ever change. So, what was the other thing that was happening this week? Al Gore came out with his Inconvenient Truth 2 or something like that?
Was it a documentary on the original?
Oh, who knows? I have no idea. It's just kind of dumb.
Because therefore, the Inconvenient Truth was allegedly, it came out afterwards, allegedly it was propaganda. So if he's bringing out an Inconvenient Truth too, would that not be him saying that it was an inconvenient truth, that I had to market the propaganda to be an inconvenient truth?
Yeah, it's actually pretty pathetic. But yeah, so it's a lot of things going on with that.
Sorry if anyone just got a headache.
Oh, what can you do? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that'll give you a headache, quite frankly. But as far as Beyond 3D is concerned, working on a few things for you guys this week, which we will get into a little bit later in the show. But more importantly, I think, is the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on the moon. I've been seeing a lot of interesting videos, and what I will do is put links up to those videos on our Facebook page so you guys can take a look at them. There have been, as we have talked in the past few weeks, a lot of things going on in the Antarctic. We've heard a lot of different theories of late. There have been a lot of things going on Pluto. They have found some very interesting structures. There have been a lot of...
Can you just pause for a second? Are you on a roll?
Yeah, go.
Hang on. When you talk about Pluto...
Yes.
Just enlighten me just for a minute. Not just me, everybody else at home. Mm-hmm. Everyone else that's listening along. Mm-hmm. What about Pluto exactly?
I don't like the fact that it was, first of all, delisted as a planet.
Thank you. That is all. That's exactly where I was going. Mm-hmm. Why delist it? It's been listed as part of our solar system
since 1937.
Thank you. Why all of a sudden go, no, we're not going to include it anymore? There's no logical reason to do so unless there's something of value there and you wish it to be removed from future records.
I think so. I think they found a lot of things in a lot of places that they just don't want people to know about ever. And by ever, I mean 500 to 1,000 years from now.
And Pluto's very cold.
Yeah.
Ridiculously cold.
Yeah, but there are things going on. And I think what people need to understand is we constantly look at what we have to go through here. Humanoids, I believe, can adapt to any weather situation. They can adapt to the cold, they can adapt to the heat. You can build a body that will allow you to dwell in certain areas. It's not that difficult even from a scientific standpoint. It can be done.
Maybe we're a virus.
Some people might say that. I don't believe so. I believe we're basically, I believe we've been manipulated by other species. I believe, though, at the same time, anytime I hear that, it's with a caveat. And the caveat is this. We are talking about a physical form.
Yes.
We are not talking about soul. We are not talking about spirit. We are not talking about a monad or a higher self.
No.
What we are talking about is a physical form to be able to operate in this part of this galaxy.
Yes.
That's it.
Right.
You can operate in other galaxies under other conditions as well. Therefore, every time I hear somebody talk about the fact that the Draco and all of these...
Mantids.
The Mantids, all the Pleiadians and the tall whites and all this kind of stuff, every time I hear that, it's just like, come on. all they can do, once again, what that is to me, that is talking about the world of matter. But we're beyond the world of matter.
Yes. Well, hang on. If you're tuning in tonight for the first time, please feel free to look us up on Facebook. You're hunting for Beyond 3, as in the number, -and D, or you can go to Google. And last time I checked, Matt, we were number 3 on Google.
3 or 4.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So yeah, I keep thinking about this and meditating on it and contemplating it. And when you realize that you are more than just a physical form, it doesn't matter if there are other physical forms trying to manipulate yours. You can go beyond it.
Do you know why I just interrupted you?
Why?
Because some people before, when they heard you talk about the fact that we're more than just matter, some people listening tonight, like I just pumped up our Facebook page just then, some people listening tonight would be their first time.
True.
Just tuning through the dial and having a listen, or surfing the internet looking for a new radio show. Maybe you've just burst someone's bubble who only lived in the matter world.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I know that, but like, I was just pulling you up there because you're just being a little bit general.
It's okay. There's a lot of work you have to do to get into all this stuff, and we always talk about research as well, and you have to research. But quite frankly, this is the whole thing. There is a lot of things out, especially on YouTube, and they talk about all these different orders of beings and all these different planets and all these different systems and who's doing what and why. And that's all in the world of physical matter, only in that small light band that we can see.
Hang on. I'm going to... No, we need to take a break. I need to come back after this.
Beyond 3, D.
Welcome back, guys, to this week's edition of Beyond 3D.
You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I am not faux pas with all the different kinds of what's been documented in government paperwork before. Different types of alien species.
Right.
Okay, or visitors, or people that, or entities that have lived here and that allegedly own this place. I'm not faux pas. But what I do know is that many of them exist not just on this physical plane. So when you're talking about everything that these YouTube clips are referring to with these different species, you're saying that exists just in this matter, in this physical plane, for us, not for them.
Right.
I just wanted to check.
Yeah. Okay. Now that would leave the thing that just popped into my head. Billy Meyer, what he talks about. Now he talks about the Pleiadians, but he says when we look up at the Pleiades in the sky, what we see is not correct because they're in a different dimension.
Yes.
And they can come through that dimension into this dimension, and they can contact him that way.
Okay.
So they are in a different dimension as well.
Yes.
I can understand that.
Yep, go for it.
When it comes to Alpha Draconians and all that kind of stuff, all those lizard people, I don't know. Quite frankly, I'm skeptical.
Credo Mutwa. And that is all I'm going to say is Credo Mutwa.
Yeah, good name, good shaman, Lesotho, South Africa. I can listen to what he said, and I can...
What about the Dark Ages with the medieval knights?
With the medieval knights?
Yeah. And a lot of fables. What was the biggest creature that the medieval knights would face?
The dragon?
Thank you.
Smog.
What about Chinese history?
True.
Dragons.
Yeah.
Okay. Just got to go through your history, Matt.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different. I would have to get more information and do more research on a lot of these species. It would be nice to see one.
No, I don't think it would.
I think it would.
I don't think it would.
I think it would.
What? With what kind?
A gray? Alpha Draconians, all those lizard, those 7 foot, 8 foot, 9 foot tall lizard kind of things, if they exist. When I say I would like to see one, what I can say to you is, and people don't think this, they automatically think that if they saw one of those things, they could get to them, eat them, do this to them, that to them. If you're spiritual enough, you can shield yourself from all of that.
Yeah, I know that.
But
a lot of other people, for them, are nothing but a bucket of fried chicken.
Yeah.
Humans for food. Let's just leave it there.
Well, I would hope, well, I'll leave it at this, I would hope that is not the case. It would be, if we were basically another form of a farm animal as far as they're concerned, that would be pretty weird, to say the least, as far as I'm concerned.
It would be weird because you're sentient enough to know the concept of what butchering is. And to be sentient enough to know the concept and then find yourself on the production line as part of a small goods.
But
that is just world-shattering.
What was it? No, there was somebody put it this way. I can't remember somebody's name, but what they basically said was, how do you know we are not just food for plants?
Well, yes, I like that. They give us carbon dioxide. We take that and make oxygen for them and then fall down and die and feed the soil.
Feed the soil kind of thing, yeah. So that could be another one. So they could be a heck of a lot more sentient than we could possibly imagine.
That would make me a fun guy.
So, hey, a lot of things like that can go on. But as far as those different kind of species, there's a lot out there on the internet. There's a lot of bad information out there. Some of the information I think is very, very good. What I tend to think, if I hear a person and a person has an experience, you can really tell when a person is just telling you a genuine experience and they're not lying about anything that they experienced. And when they say they've seen this or they've seen that and they've seen some type of being, they always talk, what is that thing they always talk about? That the guy that wears the hat that sits at the end of your bed.
Oh, Santa.
I gotta remember. No, not Santa.
No, you're telling the story.
I know. I'm trying to think of these guys.
The
all
guy
these things
sitting at the end of your bed wearing a hat.
Yeah, you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning in your bedroom, and all of a sudden there's a guy at the edge of your bed, and he has this long hat on, the whole thing.
Slender Man.
Yeah, one of them kind of man guys. Anyway, but if somebody says that they've seen something like that, I don't. There's no reason for me to think of them as being wacky or anything like that. More than likely, I would believe them. They have had an experience, and it is not for me to state that experience is invalid. It is very valid for them.
Just because you haven't experienced it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, that kind of stuff, it doesn't exist. I have to accept that at face value and just say because they could have seen something that I may not have ever seen. I still want to see a lot of the things that these guys say are out there. Now, there is some interesting videos on YouTube from John Leonard Walson.
I was going to actually say, before you go any further, we need to take another break.
Oh, we will take a break and be back with a bit more.
Beyond
D.
Welcome back this week, everyone, to another edition of Beyond 3D. I'm sitting here with Matt.
You are.
On a Saturday night.
Now,
Chris Turner.
Ooh, what's he up to?
I know he's making another documentary at the moment.
Yeah.
But his previous documentary, which was Don't Mention the Reptilians,
yes,
which we spoke to him last year. We need to call him again.
Will do.
And that is an awesome documentary if you want to know any more about what Matt was talking tonight in regards to different alien species.
True, that is good.
And people that have had experiences.
It is true.
Not just someone at the local service station, but actually, what would you call them? Spearheads in the UFO community?
Spearheads? I don't know if that term would be...
What would you call them?
I'd have to think of something. I don't know at this point in time. I'd really have to think of something. Chris Turner's documentary...
Don't Mention the Reptilians.
...would be... He has some really good information from some of the leaders in the UFO community.
Thank you. Well, I did say spearheads.
They're spearheads as well. Yeah, but I said more of the leaders. And it's interesting to be able to hear what these guys have to say and get a little bit of a different take on it. So it'd really be interesting to deal with Chris's work. What I was mentioning before the break was John Leonard Walson has uploaded a few videos lately onto YouTube. And the thing I like about his uploads is the fact that it's local, insofar as I mean local here, the moon, insofar as he just puts his GoPro through his telescope and see what you can come up with, and he comes up with some really interesting stuff. And so he's put up a couple of, I will put the links up on our Facebook page,
Make sure you do.
Beyond 3D, and I will let you guys take a look at them for yourselves, because you see some really interesting, I've said this every week for the past probably 6 weeks, you see some really interesting stuff if you take a telescope out and look up at the moon.
I saw 2 UAPs last week. I didn't mention it on last week's show, but headed south. Came in the north, exited the south.
Did you happen to see...
Following each other. Dancing across the sky.
What color?
White.
Okay.
Zigzag.
Zigzag?
Yeah. And then just blipped out.
Really?
Blipped out, headed southbound very quick.
Wow.
One chasing the other.
That's interesting. Last week?
Yeah, last week. Last Sunday night.
Okay.
So after the night after last week's show.
Okay, I was looking at some stuff on YouTube, and they secure team once again, Tyler, put up a video from our area.
No way.
Somebody sent him a video from Cranbourne.
Okay, which
along
is
Thompson's Road.
Which that would be about 40 k's from here.
Maybe 20 to maybe 30, yeah, 30, 40 k's. Let's call it 30 or 40 k's from here. And it was they were going along the road.
What's that in US conversion?
Conversion? Well, 50 kilometers would be 30 miles.
Thank you.
So it showed this beautiful red fireball.
Okay.
Traveling along the highway with them, but then it did something really weird. It sped up, blinked out, but you could still see the little thing the little ship or whatever it was that was going there, just took off into the distance.
I need to check that out.
Yeah, fascinating, especially being that it was local. And you can go, wait a minute, I know those kind of road signs, and then it turns out Thompson's Road, and we all know Thompson's Road if you're from this area.
Do you have a map going on in your head right now? Because you're digressing right, left, and centre with about 5 different topics of conversation. I'm just sitting here marvelling at you. It's really cool.
Oh, it
Which
comes
way
up
you
in my
going?
head. No, it comes up in the head, and I just go, put it out. What the heck?
You're pointing your fingers
go.
when you do that. That's cool.
Let it go. I can't help it. But I'm just trying to think of the things that I've seen this week that I think are pertinent, and people would be interested in, and then we just have to give them the places to go to read about them and see what's going on. That one to me was interesting because it's local. I want more things local. I want us to be able to talk to our guys in our area, and we see a lot of things up here.
There's stacks going on down here.
I mean, there are a lot of things up in the sky. We just don't take enough time to look at them because, as everybody knows, we have a busy work week and everybody's going through what they have to go through in order to pay bills. But the fact of the matter is, if you can take some time, it's well worth it.
Pick a night. Get one of those weather apps and look ahead and forecast yourself what a clear night's going to be coming up. Pick that night and go out there just for 10 minutes.
And also get online and check out in our area, the Mornington Peninsula, check out the Astronomical Society that meets at the Briars. And they have all the telescopes out.
First Friday of every month.
And they get all the telescopes out, and you guys can go out there and really learn a lot. So it's really fantastic. Did you notice the clouds that we went through yesterday evening?
Interesting.
Where about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it looked like it was nighttime.
I know.
And when you looked out over the peninsula, over the water on the bay, it almost looked like UFO-like clouds were out over there as well.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting little storm that moved through here. So I was very interested in I was looking, going, what the heck is that? I've never seen anything like that for a long time.
High ionization.
Interesting.
Joe Biden got a medal yesterday.
Yes, he did. And he cried over it.
Because it wasn't full of chocolate.
No, quite frankly, I think those guys, if I were them and I knew I had another week to go, I'd be having a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Oh, man, I'd be exonerating people left, right, and center and changing laws left, right, and center and making it as hard for the person coming in as I possibly could make it within reason.
You know what
would be crazy.
I'd go around and take all the little... I can't even say it without laughing. I'd go around the White House if I was Obama with a butter knife and just flip off all the letter T's on all the keyboards.
Oh, who did that? They did that to... The Clinton White House did that. They took all the W's off the keyboards.
Are you joking?
When Bush got in.
Oh, no way.
They did. That's what they did. That was one of the things that they did.
Buy a new keyboard.
Yeah, of course, but it is kind of fun to do those kind of things. So, yeah, but it's interesting to say the least. I'm trying to think of what else has been going on this week that we can really bring up to the gang and allow them to see what interesting news is out there.
I got something for you.
What do you got?
Back at this break.
Beyond 3.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Beyond 3D.
Simon Parkes.
Ooh.
Now, you were talking earlier about... Well, go on. List off your different species.
The Draco.
No.
Tall whites.
Nope.
The greys of
Nope.
different varieties. The Pleiadians.
Nope.
The Mantids, you said?
Yes.
Oh.
Simon Parkes has a lot of alleged contact with the Mantids. And I watched a really cool interview this week
Okay.
with Simon Parkes. Now, for anyone who doesn't know who he is, I'm just on his website. So I'm going to read you his little blurb.
Very good.
Simon Parkes is a lifelong experiencer of aliens, shadow people, elementals, and UFOs.
That was the other thing. At the foot of your bed.
Thank you for interrupting
Thank you.
me. No, thank you for interrupting me, because you've never done that before. I do it to you all the time.
That was the thing at the end of the shadow people.
Is this what it feels like?
Yes, the shadow people.
No, is this what it feels like to be interrupted mid-conversation? That's nice. Oh, yeah, I'll wear that. That's
That was
cool.
it. That was it. Anyway, keep going, please.
Shadow people.
Yes.
Okay, that's what it was. What was that, about half an hour ago?
Yeah, something.
Okay, cool. Blah, 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 blah. Crystalline beings and other creatures that can't be identified. Simon was an elected politician and served a full term of office. Simon's biological mother worked for the British Security Service, often called MI5, between 1965 and 1979. While she was managed by British intelligence, she was in fact working jointly for the National Security Agency, or the NSA, of America, and her job was to type out documents and related to crashed UFOs. Long story short, Simon's grandfather also worked for British intelligence. He was a foreign arm of the British intelligence, often called MI6. Simon has a long background and history with the Secret Service and my labs. I wouldn't call them prophecies. I would call them information sharing.
Okay.
So Simon, over the years, has information shared lots of information and data that he's been intercepted and been given and shared with him from the Mantids. And every time he has openly spoken about what is about to transpire, it has transpired.
Ooh, nice.
And I really, really want to share this with everybody tonight. It's irrelevant what you think about what you're about to hear, because this is Simon Parkes' experience, not mine, not yours, Matt, nobody else's at home. So sit back, relax, and have a listen to Simon Parkes.
Beyond 3 D.
Yes, I think 2016, 2017, very important times, and as a result of that, certain forces that don't wish humanity to evolve, don't want human consciousness to arise, are throwing everything they've got into the hat. So Christmas Day was very difficult. I was psychically attacked on Christmas Day, and for the last 4 to 5 hours prior to this interview, I was attacked. So somebody didn't want this interview to go ahead, and we've had a little remote view to follow it back to see where it's coming from, and it's emanating from Antarctica. So it's under control now and been able to prevent that from getting any worse. But that's always, in my book, a positive reason as to why we need to do these interviews. Because if somebody is trying their damnedest to prevent it, then we need to make sure it goes ahead. But, that's what goes with the territory. And I don't criticise people who put their head above the parapet and then decide that it's not for them. That's their own decision, and that's the way they are. But there are some of us who are in this for the long haul, and we will see it through. So as pathetic and as ridiculous as these attacks are, that's the only weapon these negative entities have. But there is always a positive force which attempts to counterbalance and to give us the strength to go on. The next 3 months on this planet are crucial. We've all said that 2015, 2016 is vital, and it has been because we've had so many near misses and we've been pulled from the brink a number of times. But I think what we will see in the next 3 months are obvious signs that the public will not be able to hide from. So I'm expecting going ahead for 3 months, between March and July, I'm expecting some form of disclosure. It will not come from a government, it will come from an agency funded by the government, who will announce to the world that their supercomputers have been in communication with an off-planet force. They're not going to name anything, and they have been holding conversations. The government concerned who funds this agency will not deny it, but nor will it agree to it, but they will not prevent them speaking. Now this is genuine. My concern is that it will be used for a false flag, because a non-government spokesperson is going to say, we have proof of aliens, we have been communicating with them for the last 6 months, and here's the evidence. Now that is a positive release of information, but there are elements within the elite who could then attempt to use that, stage some form of an attack, and then say, well, you've heard there are aliens and this is what's happened. So there is a good side that wants the evidence released, and there's a negative side which can't prevent this release of information, but is seeing how it can utilize it to gain something. So that is actually positive. That's a positive thing for a disclosure. We'll call it a partial disclosure because it's not coming from a government head, but nevertheless it will be the most comprehensive disclosure that we can expect. So that's between March and July 2017. Running up to that, we will most definitely see a bank financially collapse in Italy. We will see an election where the Italian people vote to leave the euro and go to the lira. That will put impossible strain on the European Central Bank, and it's looking likely it'll be the collapse of what we would call the European Union. So when we look back, and we've seen Great Britain have the Brexit vote, we've seen the Clintons prevented from taking office, we've seen the Third World War being prevented on 3 occasions now, and we've seen a number of other situations which could have escalated one way or another. All have been prevented. We're now very clear, I think, in the view that humanity is going to be given an open door. But the point is whether humanity will walk through that door. And 2017 is the moment of that. Now, if humanity can do that, then between 2017 and 2019, this whole paradigm will shift. So by the middle of 2019, we should have a civilization totally unlike the civilization that we know now. So we'll start in March. Now you asked me the second question there. The information that I receive comes from off-planet, but I never go public with it unless I'm getting it from physical-bodied Earth-type people here. Now they may not say exactly the same thing, but they may give me something which is very close to it, or they may say, yes, that sounds what we're looking at as well. So when I'm getting 2 sorts of information from 2 different sources, then I go public with it. Your viewers and listeners hopefully will know the story that my mother worked for MI5, my grandfather worked for MI6, but really it was the NSA and the CIA. So this is a family connection that exists, and your viewers should also perhaps be aware that I got that 3-hour guided tour around the Space Radar Base, which is American but on British land. So whilst one arm of the elite dislike what we do, there's always another arm that's trying to support us and help us. But those that are supporting us can't be seen to be doing it publicly. So they will do it in a private way. And so that's how that information comes through on a physical level. So the connection I have has always been strongest with the Mantis, because the Mantis actually were from this planet. And that's not widely understood. And because of that, they are anchored to the Earth's energy, and they are part of the Earth's energy. And they take a great interest in it. And yeah, they've played a double game, as many have, but they always knew that the reptilians were on a dead end and that they were finished, and that unless they evolved or accepted evolution, they would just become what I call budded off in the fourth dimension. They will create a separate universe within the fourth dimension, to which they will be prisoners to. Anything that's got any ounce of spirituality to it wishes to evolve, and the Mantids certainly wish to evolve. So they've always taken a great interest, and you will find that there is a channel of communication between the Nordics and the Mantis. There's no channel of communication now between the reptilians and the Mantis, and there was, as there is no real communication between reptilians and Nordics. But the Mantis have aligned themselves as an independent group who wish to see humanity evolve. And so the information that I receive, and I've never really thought about it, but somebody, it was an American actually, who sent me a message and said, do you realise, it said in February of this year, on your radio show, you said Donald Trump would win the presidential election. And I said, no, actually, I hadn't, but I went and checked back and I had. But the American language is that you called it. We don't say that in England, but his words were, you called Trump. Right, so that was his words. And someone else said to me, everything that you've predicted has happened. And that was actually shocking for him, because when I look back, everything I've said has actually occurred. The only thing hasn't, as I said, I expected a banking crash in October. But if your viewers do the research, they'll find that Deutsche Bank came within 12 hours of a complete meltdown. So everything that I've said has come to pass. That's why, whether people love me or hate me, they have to respect the information. And I'm very, very careful on that. So if someone tells me something, I will check it out first. I'm not a researcher, but people do come to me with information. Let me try and explain a bit more. If you are a good person on this planet, and you are protected by, or you are in connection with, let's say, Andromedans, or one of the fifth dimensional races, it is very unlikely they will step in and help you, because they do believe in the rule that they should not interfere. Now, they are stepping in more than they've done lately. But if you have a connection with a fourth dimensional entity, they've been involving themselves in human affairs for thousands of years, and they don't have any qualms about getting in. So if anything seriously was to happen to me, the payback to whoever was responsible, or the organization, would be immense. And that's why I've not had anything too dramatic, shall we say. But if you look at the situation with Russia and the Nordics supporting the Russians, this is a group, it's not a breakaway group of Nordics, but it is a group of Nordics who've been tasked from the main group of Nordics to act semi-autonomously to support Putin against the situation in America. So those guys are more likely to become involved than generally. So if you take someone like David Icke, he doesn't have that level of protection. So therefore someone on the BBC will be told, do what you can to make a fool of this man. Now, my opinion of David Icke is very high, and I think he's quite capable of giving as good as he gets and better. But the fact is that they would not be permitted to do that to me now, because the comeback on them would be so horrendous.
Beyond 3D.
And I'm now in a much clearer position as to the way that people are manipulated and the way society works and the trickery that's used. And I'm just really glad that as how old was I? A 5 or a 6-year-old child, when I was offered who did I want as a guardian, was it the reptilian, the Draconis, or was it the Mantis, that I asked for the Mantis. I was actually offered a purple robe or a sword. The sword would have been the reptilian, and the purple robe was the Mantis. And I actually remember as a 5 or 6-year-old boy holding the purple robe above my head. I was choosing that. And I remember saying to the Mantid entity, did you know I was going to choose this? And the reply, obviously it's all telepathic, but the reply was, if you have eyes to see, then you see. So the other side, the reptilian side, was always conscious of the fact that I was not going to play the game that they wanted. Because if I was going to play the game they wanted, then I would be telling everyone to get on spaceships, or I would be telling everyone to vote for Hillary Clinton, or I would be doing this, that and the other. And I'm not. I did an interview with a Ukraine internet radio show just last week, who were very anti-Putin. And I've obviously publicly come out and said that I think Putin's pretty good for the planet at this time. Note, I haven't said he was a good man, I said he was the right person at the right time. So when that happened, I had an opportunity then to reach people who had only ever had one form of information, which was Putin is bad, Hillary Clinton is good. So what I was able to do was say, do you realize that the CIA, or elements of the CIA, funded the revolution in the Ukraine? Do you understand that? Do you understand how the VPN line that runs through Ukraine was hacked by the CIA with information that Russia had targeted its nuclear missiles on England and America? Do you understand that then the other side swapped it? That all these games are going on. At this stage on the planet, you cannot be a high-ranking politician and be credible in terms of your honesty to yourself and the love for yourself. So the system on the planet now ensures that only, certainly in the Western world anyway, that most politicians have already been compromised. The reason that Mr. Trump is not compromised is because he's a billionaire, and there was no way they could compromise him. What has he said? He said he's only going to take $1 of the $400,000 salary that the president has. He has to take the dollar because otherwise he's not the president. But he doesn't need the money. And when he actually made that statement, he was saying to everybody, don't try and bribe me. I don't need the money. That's why he did that. And also why on his, not his acceptance speech, but the speech of the night that Clinton actually said that she conceded defeat, he said, I have over 200 generals and admirals backing me. It's the first time any politician, whether they be Democrat or Republican, on his speech on the election night has said, I am backed by 200 military people. The reason for that was he was warning everyone else. Particularly he was warning elements of the CIA and some elements of the FBI that if you attempt to remove me, there will be civil war in this country. So that's what I'm saying, that people who have information and believe at the moment that the system is okay and they can go and use the system is wrong. Look at David Icke. He decided that he wanted to change society for the better. And what did he do? He went and created an internet radio and television station. Okay? Mm-hmm. You cannot, at the present on the planet, you cannot use the structure to change itself. Mm-hmm. And that's why it was attacked. Because he needed a bank manager, he needed an advisor, he needed this, he needed buildings and equipment. The system is inbuilt to protect itself, and as soon as it detected that he was about to change that, it destroyed him. There have been many other people who have tried in a physical sense to make change, and it's been turned against them, and they are infiltrated and attacked. If you are an intelligence agency, you are tasked with destabilizing and stabilizing. So for instance, if we wanted to destabilize the Vatican, we would use an organization or an individual who would say something which would appear, and I'm going to make jokingly here, would put the fear of God into the Vatican. So if we were to say that a certain planet had been detected, but it was outside of Lucifer's Lucifer telescope, it was outside of Lucifer's range, but Hubble had picked it up, then you would put the Vatican into an absolute panic, because they would believe then that the owners of the planet were coming back. So often individuals are used not to make them look stupid, but to use the information to attack other individuals or organizations, either to support them or to destabilize them. There's a huge confusion as to what the Anunnaki are. I've never met Ashayana Deane, but I think she's absolutely accurate. I would call it the Orion Empire and the Syrian Confederation. One was much more reptilian, that would be the Syrian, than the Orion. What the purebred reptilians did was to try and hybridize everything they could to put reptilian into it, because a little bit like the Borg from Star Trek, it was about assimilation, it was about taking over, and that was actually because AI had already affected them, and they were carrying out this AI instruction, although they didn't actually fully understand themselves. The original Anunnaki were probably very, very white-skinned, very angular, may or may not have had beards. I'm not clear on that myself, but I know that they had very little reptilian, if any, in them. But they were very, almost if you were to take chalk or flour and put it on your face, that is a sort of impression. Somewhat like Nordics. I've seen creatures that people would say were terribly ugly, but are very spiritual and have a great deal of humanity. I've seen things that, from an establishment point of view, look beautiful, but are full of evil hate. Reptilians also masquerade as Nordics, and this is a problem. So we have a group of very reptilianized entities that gave the running of the planet to a much more human-based grouping, and then went off. And these Anunnaki, who were left on the planet, because that's the name they took to themselves, because they were following through from those who created them, yes, in a laboratory, they decided they could run the show themselves. And that's what's happened. And they found great power, power beyond their dreams. And their one great fear, apart from humanity rising up and evolving, is the return of their lords and masters as they see them. And that's why the Lucifer telescope, which is an infrared telescope, and the optical telescope were built, because the Vatican wanted to be the first to be aware of their return. And so we have a lot of disinformation coming from good intel sources trying to put the fear of God into the Vatican, saying they're coming back. So what I'm saying is that there is a spherical object. There are two, actually. There is a spherical object that has nothing on it, is totally automated, but there is another spherical object that has beings on it. And humanity has got to reach a position of development so that when this thing does return, and it will, we are in a position where there's no void or vacuum for something else to come in and try and impose itself as the rulers of humanity. In other words, I want to see humanity fixed, strong, sovereign, so that if someone comes along and says, right, we're going to take back what's ours, we show them the finger and we say, no thank you. If you want to sit around the table as equal beings with us, we're happy to do that. But if you think that you're going to force us or organize us or do anything, then no, that's not what's going to happen. My concern has never been the evolution of humanity, because we're going to do it. My concern is the vacuum period between people realizing they've been tricked and lied to, and that natural destabilizing until they can then realize who they are, what they are, and what they need to do. And my concern is that something or someone will attempt to impose itself when humanity is in that phase shift between understanding it was lied to and developing as to who we really are. That's my concern, and that, I think, is, for me, is the greatest danger facing all humans on this planet.
Beyond 3 D.
So that was Simon Parkes, Matt.
I know you won't like this, but I got to do it.
No, go. I don't
Mantids.
want you.
Mantids.
Don't make the little hand gestures.
Yeah,
What's
okay,
this?
with the Mantids, the first thing that popped into my head was the Xindi. Now,
Hang on. Select the video game for me. What are we going to play?
Pac-Man?
Yeah, I can do Pac-Man.
You think?
Yeah, go on.
Anyway, no, real quick, maybe a minute, no more. On Star Trek, the Xindi had 4 or 5 different species. They had the Xindi primates, they had the Xindi arboreals, they had the Xindi reptilians, they had an underwater one, but they had a mantid-like. The insect one as well, insectoid, with the, looked like a praying mantis-y kind of thing. And...
Oh, damn it. Sorry, I died. Yep, go.
And when you said Mantid earlier, it came into my head and then it disappeared again, and it came into my head and it disappeared again, but then it came back into my head, so I thought I would just mention the fact that a lot of the different species that we talk about and that are talked about in the UFO community are also portrayed in science fiction TV shows.
Okay. That's
Big
nothing.
time.
That's nothing new to you and I.
No.
Because we know that a lot of science fiction comes from real life.
Yes, but the fact of the matter is, it's really interesting. I'll get you a copy of just one episode of Enterprise where they're going up against the Xindi, and you get to see these guys sitting around the table, and you see humanoids like us. You see Draco. You see the reptilians. You see all of these guys, and you just look and you go, they got this stuff from all the information that's out there right now. So it's fascinating. But very interesting information from Mr. Parks on what is possibly going to be happening in our near future.
He hasn't been wrong yet.
That can be scary.
Yeah. And he takes no pride in that either.
Well, here's the thing. I would say if somebody gets information, it is fed down through them from another source, and it comes out, and all they can do is just say, this is what was given to me, this is what I was told to give to you, take it for what it is.
And don't stone the man, because all he's doing is sharing his experience.
That's it. And I think that's very important. So if the person can give you some information that can make you aware of something you weren't aware of before, and all of a sudden, what it can also do, and this happens a lot with information like this, it allows you to see why things are going the way they're going currently. It really does open you up, and you start to say, there is another hand, and we're not talking the Illuminati necessarily. There is another hand that can be at work, manipulating and moving things around for a specific purpose.
There's many fingers in many pies.
Yeah. And in order, as you said this earlier, Clint, in order for the United States in and of itself to finally break free, first you might have to break it down. And that happens in life as well. In order for people to go forward, certain things have to be put in place. Until those things are put in place, a person can't go forward. But once those things are in place, boom, 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 everything can connect and you can move. So, very interesting indeed.
It's a big game of Tetris.
Kind of, sort of, which is really interesting. Really interesting indeed. Now, here's a political thing I just popped into my head, and if it happens, I think we'll all go, you've got to be kidding me. Trump. Did you hear what he said he was going to do in about 2 or 3 weeks?
Yell at someone?
Yeah, besides that. He was going to put up his first Supreme Court nominee.
Who is it? Who do you speculate?
A former mayor of New York.
Not Giuliani.
Don't be surprised.
Not Giuliani.
Don't be surprised. Think about it. They want somebody conservative.
Giuliani was kissing his backside 12 months ago.
But don't be surprised. All of a sudden, he was supposed to be, Attorney General, and he just acquiesced and moved away, hasn't said a single solitary word. No. But he can be like the proverbial cat with the canary in its mouth, just waiting, and all of a sudden, bang, there he is, and everybody's going to go, can happen.
And that's all we have time for this week, Matt.
Oh, well, what can you do? Guys, we will see you next week for another edition of Beyond 3D. Take great care of yourselves this week. It's going to be a very interesting week, politically and otherwise. Watch the show. It's going to be fun. And as a lot of people out there say, look, we're living history right now.
Always. When are you not?
Yeah, well, that's true too, but you know what they mean. This is the stuff that they will put in the history books later.
Good night, everybody.
Take care.
Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.